Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of Everyday Ethics. If I'm not mistaken, yes, it is episode 22. I'm very pleased to have you all with me today. I'm going to do my normal and share this so that I could try to maybe pump up the views a little bit. I'm hoping that you're telling your friends about the show. I'm hoping that you like the show. So let me do this first. All right. All right, shared. So there's a reason. Hello, Daniel, enjoying Mexico. There is a reason that I called this episode venting, because I want to vent a little bit, because I had a minor, I'd say, ethical misstep. And what I mean by that is that I did something that was not in my interest to do. We emphasize a lot that we want to focus when making our decisions on what is rational to do and not what our emotions are prodding us to do. We want to actually use reason to figure out what it is in our best interest to do. So, as those of you who watched the Capitalist Corner earlier today, you know the story I'm about to tell, but I'm going to tell it again because some people here didn't hear it. And just remember, we do have super chats, super stickers, and they are always welcome. So, what occurred yesterday is that I was calling into a radio show here in Connecticut that's hosted by a guy named Reese Hopkins, who I'm friends with, or at least friendly with. I could call him. He calls me. I've interviewed him on my show a few times. I've been on his show. And he and I don't see eye to eye when it comes to Donald Trump. And that's fine. People can have differences of opinion. Well, yesterday, he made a claim that I knew was false, and I called into the show because that's what you do. You call into the show and you express your disagreements. And he put me on hold and really proceeded to badmouth me on the air. Now, once I heard him doing that, I should have hung up, right? I should have said, you know what? If this guy doesn't value my opinion enough, or if he doesn't value my friendship, I've got a little gnat flying around here. Doesn't value my friendship enough to show me respect, then I shouldn't care to even interact with him. But as he was talking, I could feel the emotion rising up inside me. I could feel myself becoming angry and agitated, and I was on hold now. And that should have been another indicator that when I felt my emotions getting out of hand, I should have hung up the phone, not stayed on, because there was nothing to be gained at that point, right? There was nothing good that was going to come of the discussion once I was angry, pissed off. So, of course, I did not hang up. I stayed on the phone, and I ended up having an argument with him on the air where my anger was evident. I pride myself during intellectual discourse on not getting angry. But I did start getting angry, and I vented to him, and I vented to the audience about how I felt about what he had done and my disagreements with him. And I probably wasn't coming off clear in my points because I was agitated. And when we're agitated, we're not thinking clearly, or we're not likely to, get our point across. But the thing is, so now I have a choice today is, what do I do? Do I beat myself up about it, or do I move on? And my choice is to learn from it, right? That's what I want to do. I want to learn from it. Learn that, yes, I still do get angry no matter how hard I've worked on my anger. Yes, I still do act out of anger at times. And yes, I need to learn to do that even less. So now I'm going to, maybe do a little double down, focus on that, recognize my error, and move on. See, that's what we want to do. First of all, we don't want to do what I did. We don't want to have our emotions dictating our behavior. We don't want that. If it happens, however, what we don't want to do is compound the error by then beating ourselves up into oblivion for how horrible we are, how we've screwed up, how we've slipped. No, a little like, I wish I wouldn't have done that is okay, but then it's corrected. Why did I do this? How can I change it next time? So now next time, if I'm in that situation, I'll hang up. But I also have to learn this when I have debates in general. If I feel myself getting angry, I need to step back, move back, be quiet, listen. Ultimately, Reese Hopkins' opinion of me doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. His opinion of his audience doesn't matter. The fact that he was wrong and that he was saying things on the air that just weren't true, not just about me, but the policy positions, the politics he was talking about, he was just wrong and blatantly so. And not like a technical thing or a uh, opinionated topic. He was just wrong on facts, which if somebody's that wrong on facts and that much does not care about the arguments that they're making or does not care about truth, then I shouldn't even want to engage them anyway. Right? He was talking over me when I was on the air because maybe you in the audience don't understand this. If I interview somebody on my show right now, I can overwhelm them because I have a microphone, I control the volume, I can put the mute button on, I can do all those things. I can take them right off the air. And that's what he was doing to me. And I let it bother me. So I learn a lesson and I move on. But, it's important to recognize that that can happen to us. So what are some strategies that we can employ when we feel our emotions starting to get the best of us? Well, the best thing is to use self-talk. Calm yourself down. Why am I getting this angry? This isn't that important. This doesn't justify the level of anger that I'm getting. I definitely don't want to act this out. So you want to use self-talk. You want to remind yourself of your core values, of your broader purpose, of why it's not in your interest to act out of emotion. And if it's just too much, then you just walk away. You just walk away or you just hang up the phone, which is what I should have done. We have a €5 super chat coming from Katrin Kohler. Absolutely one of the nicest human beings you could ever meet. She says, it's only human and understandable how you reacted yesterday, Mike, but I also know you will do better next time. Thank you so much, Katrin, both for the €5 and for the words of encouragement and support. Greatly appreciated. I think we all could benefit for some words of encouragement, words of support from time to time. So yeah, you want to trace through those steps. So let's use me as the example. So first off, I know that I already know Reese and I know what he's going to do if I call. I know he's going to try to overwhelm me with voice. I know he's not going to want to actually have a discourse. So therefore, immediately I should not have called. Okay. So immediately I should have told myself, Michael, it's not in your interest to call. This is not going to be a healthy discussion. It's not going to be a good discussion. Just don't do it. Right. Okay. Once I do it, once he starts shifting the argument, not focusing on what I'm saying, trying to dominate, goodbye. I tell myself, okay, this is not somebody who's trying to have a rational discussion. The type of audience that's going to be listening to him are probably not interested in a rational perspective. It's not in my interest to get angry. It's not in my interest to engage in this. It doesn't matter what he thinks. Okay, but I didn't do that. Next step. And I should have hung up then. Next step, I'm on hold and I'm hearing what he's saying. Now is when I really need to start using the self-talk to talk myself out of this instead of proving myself right, which is what I was doing. I should have said, Mike, proving yourself right doesn't matter, right? There's nothing that's going to change his mind. He's not going to change your mind. This conversation is going nowhere. This is not a healthy discussion. You need to back off. I should have done that. I didn't, but I should have, and I should have hung up. Once I'm on the air, I have yet another opportunity to defuse the situation. And I could have said, you know what, Reese, I apologize. This is your show. I perhaps shouldn't have called to try to prove you wrong. Have a good time. Instead, I got angry and, demonstrated that he was wrong. I was raising my voice. I was elevated. It was obvious, but I could have backed off even then. And then once it's over with, now what's the next step? Okay, the situation's done. What do I do? Okay, Mike, yes, you had a setback. Yes, you engaged in behavior that you shouldn't have. What can you learn from it? What motivated you? What could you do better next time? Well, what motivated me is partly I care about ideas and I want to spread the ideas that are correct and I want to spread the truth. Part of it is it angers me that people get away with lying, with spreading false information. That's my own personal issue, right? Because it's not just the idea that misinformation is being spread, and that's bad. That's a worthy cause to fight. But when I'm taking it like it's personal and I'm upset that the human being is getting away with it, that is a little bit too personal that I'm taking. It's a little bit too touchy, right? So that's another one of my reasons. Then I got started to thinking about, this guy's trying to make a fool out of me. That type of stuff was in there and that angered me. But ultimately, who cares what he's trying to do or what he, thinks or what he says. So I analyze what I did, what caused me to do it. I say, how can I behave better next time? We've gone through that. But I also tell myself, you know what? You slipped up. It's okay. It's okay to screw up. I'm not going to say it's a mistake because it wasn't. I acted with intention. There's no doubt about that. But nevertheless, it's not the end of the world. I haven't suffered irreparable harm from it. I haven't caused anybody irreparable harm. I hung up, my day went on, my life goes on, his life goes on. He has his audience. I have mine. I still get to live my life the way that I want to. I learn, I move on. Persephone wants to know, how do you decide when someone is clearly not worth talking to, debating? Because sometimes people are wrong because they're willfully ignorant. Sometimes they just don't have the right facts. This is not an easy task, Persephone, and I don't have the right answer for you. If somebody is clearly dishonest and it's obvious they are, that's probably a good time to walk away. But it also depends on what your purpose is, right? If you're trying to spread your ideas and somebody else is lying and you're in a debate with them, then you can expose the lie and show everybody else what's happening, right? That might be your goal. And so you stick with it. So I think the answer is it depends on a lot of factors. It depends on why you're debating. It depends who you're debating. Yeah. Okay. Me specifically, I don't have clear-cut rules because it depends on the context. I would be happy to publicly debate Reese with a moderator where he can't do what he did yesterday, because I do think it's important to bring the truth out. I do think it's important to demonstrate when people that have a voice. I mean, he's probably got a 20,000 people audience and he's passing that stuff along. I think it's worthy to demonstrate that. Right. So if it was going to be a public debate, I certainly would engage in it under the right circumstances. There's a lot of people who wouldn't. If it's just going to be a shouting match where somebody's going to be yelling at me, no, I'm going to walk away. I have a debate tonight, by the way. I'll be debating whether it's on the Biblical Anarchy podcast. I'll post links to it to both my Facebook page and my X page. I'll be debating whether Trump's actions towards Venezuela are in the best interest of the United States. I will be taking the negative. I will be debating a guy named Casimir, and he's taking the positive. So we'll be having that debate tonight on the Biblical Anarchy podcast. I'm looking forward to it. And I know this guy that I'm debating tonight, he has anger issues. So I have to be aware of that going in and not let myself get drawn in. So I don't have a short answer, Persephone. I don't have fast and loose rules for this. If anything, I err on the wrong side and I get into debates that I shouldn't. So, that's my error. That's my error. But at the same time, I'm very good at debating. I believe that I have good ideas. I didn't create them, but I believe that there's good ideas that need to spread. It's part of my goal or goals to spread those ideas. So I would rather actually get into a debate I probably shouldn't than avoid one that I should have. That's my take on it. So what as the audience, I'm curious what you think about acting when you're angry or acting out of emotion. Daniel says, we all have our moments, better now. Yes, that's true. That's very true. But what do you think? How often does it happen to you? What are your trigger points? What sets you off? What triggers you? A trigger point that I have in discussion is argumentation is not just a free-for-all, right? Logic has rules. Reason has rules. Debate has rules. Now, that doesn't mean people that can come to different conclusions because maybe they're mistaken, they've made an error, but they can still be following the laws of reason, laws of logic, and come to different rules. When I'm in a discussion with somebody that strays from those rules, my control issues go berserk. It really bothers me. I don't like to not have a rational discussion. When I'm dealing with somebody who won't engage based on reason, I feel almost like a caged animal. I feel very, it makes me feel very, very, very bad. So, what are your triggers? Let me know. Stateless FGC 1069 says ditto. I'm curious to know who that is. Who are you, Stateless? If you don't mind saying, if you don't want to, that's cool too. But you're new to the show. Welcome, by the way. We always welcome newcomers to the show, especially ones who say ditto to me because, well, do you agree with me? I like that. I think people like to be agreed with. But I'll tell you what, as a personal matter, I would much rather have somebody disagree with me honestly than just agree to agree. If I want people to do the thinking, I want people to put forth the effort, I want people to grow. And the only way to do that is by exercising our minds, right? We cannot grow by parroting other people. We cannot grow by just adopting. Oh, Stateless found me through Zulu. Oh, okay. Well, Zulu, somebody that I've had an abundance of debates with. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. I disagree with the guy he's talking about on an abundance of issues. I think I've debated him 5 times. I've interviewed him. I've had exchanges with him on social media. But I believe Zulu's an honest person who's committed to reason. I think he's wrong, but so what? In every debate that we've had has been respectful, cordial. We both stuck to the rules of reason. And I would debate Zulu 1,000 times. And also he's a very young guy. He's 24 years old. You should check him out. If you want, Liquid Zulu. He does mostly politics and law, and that's cool. That's not really my main focus, although it may seem that way from the stuff that I talk about in post. But it really isn't my main thing. But yeah, so he's a perfect example of somebody that I can argue with, debate with, keep it cordial, keep it respectful, and still like at the end of the day, because I believe he's being honest. I believe he's adhering to the rules. At least trying to adhere to the rules. Not that I don't ever think he's wrong in his application or his methodology, but I do think he's an honest human being. And that goes a long, long way for me. What is IIRC? I mean, I don't know. For those of you who don't know, I spent a lot of years in prison. I don't know a lot of the acronyms. So what is IIRC? I actually see that quite a bit, and I don't know what the hell it means. IIRC. But anyways, I'm very if I recall correctly. That's nice. Oh, okay. Stateless says I'm not an objectivist myself, but I appreciate the philosophy and like tuning into the show. Oh, well, I hope you keep tuning in. You don't have to be an objectivist to appreciate good discussions and to think logically. So yeah, I'd venture to guess that a lot of the people in the audience are not objectivists. That's fine by me. You don't have to agree with me. You just need to be respectful and honest, and we think that gets us a very long way. But I really, really want to. I could go on all day and talk about situations where I acted out of emotion, right? And I can tell you where I erred, but I want to know from the audience. I want you to engage your minds, engage your memories, assess your behavior so that we can bring that out on the show. If not, I'll give you another example where I let my aggravation get the best of me. Okay, thankless FGC 1069. He thinks Casimir has been making a fool of himself with Venezuela. He looks forward to the debate. I look forward to the debate, although I have to confess that part of it is ego driven for me. Part of me gets annoyed with this guy Casimir because of the way in which he engages. So it's almost like it brings me back to my fighting days, like where the guy talks, we used to say cash shit, right? And I don't think he could back it up in a debate. So I'm like, I'll show him. So my motivation isn't the best, but at the same time, I think it's worth having the debate, and I think that it's a worthy discussion. I really do hope everybody tunes in. Yes, we need to have a dinner night and some coffee nights. So, anyways, I'm a ball breaker. So I used to work in the prison industries at McDougal. Jim Valiant says, I have erred mostly in not speaking up, not engaging rather than while engaging. Yes, I agree, Jim. Jim Valiant is one of my absolute favorite people on the planet. I love you, Jim, and thank you for commenting. And I hope you don't mind me saying this. Uh, I've actually told Jim I wish he were more assertive and was more spoke up for himself, because he absolutely deserves to. He absolutely has the right to. He is just such a nice guy, right? That I think that there's something there. He doesn't want to upset people, doesn't want to hurt people's feelings, but sometimes it's just necessary. So let me tell you this story of mine. I'm working in the prison industries, and I had a boss who was very insecure. He liked to break balls. I like to break balls. He brought a knife to a gunfight, and so he developed a dislike for me. So, anyways, one day we were in the tool crib, and there is, in this tool crib, there's probably 20 people, 20 inmates. It's very cramped space. I was a clerk, so I'm at the desk turning in my paperwork while everybody's getting their tools, getting their stuff. And all of a sudden, I feel this guy bump into me real hard. And I turned around, and the guy dropped all his stuff. What I thought occurred, but what didn't occur, I thought the guy tried to mess with me by bumping into me and then dropped his stuff. What actually occurred was somebody bumped into him and he bumped into me. So he was aggravated at what occurred. I didn't know that. So when I looked at him, I said, what a douche. I was joking, but he was angry. So he stood up and he shot me a dirty look. And, I just looked back at him. The boss said, cut it out, guys. And so we cut it out. And I went to my desk. And he went to his workstation, the guy that bumped into me. So being that the boss wanted to get rid of me, I knew that, and I handed him the excuse because I acted out of turn. I let my emotions, I let my ball breaking all get the best of me. So I ended up getting fired. I ended up going seg under investigation because they claimed there was an issue between the inmate and I. There wasn't. I talked to the kid when I left. I mean, it was obvious that this was a fabrication. There was no issue. It was obviously a lie on the part of the staff member. But I can't focus on that. I want to focus on me. I recognized immediately afterwards, even before I went to segregation, I knew that it was my fault and I knew that I had screwed up. I went back to the room. Because I got sent back for the day, and I thought about it. I thought about my error, and I, resolved to improve myself. But that is the type of thing that I get into because I like to break balls, because I sometimes act emotionally. I get into situations like that. And Brent would tell me, this is a pattern that you have to break. Well, easier said than done. First of all, because it's like a part of my personality. It doesn't mean it has to stay here, but joking and breaking balls is a part of my personality that I like, right? That I don't want to just get rid of. But I have to be more selective about whose balls I'm breaking, about who's going to take offense, who's okay with it, who's not insecure, who can handle it. That's for me to do. I have to learn who can joke, who can't joke. And mainly, well, I don't know about mainly, but a big part of it is don't let my emotions get the best of me. Don't let my emotions defeat me. Always focus on reason. Always listen to logic. Always move toward what is in my best interest. That's what I need to do. Speaking of which, there's a great episode out right now of the Rational Egoist with Jim Valiant. He and I are working on our series. Let me see if I can get it here. OPAR for self-improvement. Look at this book, Jesus. For self-improvement. And we work with this week, we used objectivity, the role of objectivity in self-improvement. We had a wonderful discussion. Jim Valiant is an absolute master at applying abstract concepts to concrete, practical situations. We had a great discussion about overcoming past trauma, overcoming things that have harmed us in the past, overcoming insecurities. It was very, very, very good. Persephone says that I offend her constantly and then says, no, I don't. I break Persephone stones all the time. And she handles it very, very well. She's great. She's our producer on the Capitalist Corner, and she's just absolutely wonderful. She's so good. Uh, that's all. I can go on for days about how wonderful Persephone is, but I'm still waiting for the audience to come forward with some examples. Come on, people, you could share one. Don't tell me I'm the only person that's ever acted out of turn because I was emotional. That can't be the case. Come on. Somebody out there has done something while emotional that they later regretted. I know somebody else has done it because I've never met anybody that hasn't. Everybody that I've ever met has acted out of turn while angry, while upset, while sad, whatever. But nobody is coming to my rescue here. That's nice. Daniel says he acts out constantly. Well, give us an example, Danny. Don't just come here and say it. I mean, like, how mad were you when I pierced your ear with the pen? For example, I mean, that's just one example. I pierced Danny's ear with a pen when we were younger. I also set Danny up to fight with another kid, and Danny won the fight, by the way, at the shopping center. Maybe he was upset about that. I don't know. We also, Danny thought it was cool. He was 8. Yeah. He was a youngster when I pierced his ear. So we go out in a bunch of us to have dinner, Danny, myself, and a bunch of old friends. And Danny wants to tell a story. And every time he gets ready to tell the story, we just start talking. And then we said, no, Danny, no. We really want to hear the story. But he handled it extremely well. He really didn't get upset. He handled it well. And that's the right way to handle it, right? Because we're old friends. We're just joking. This is no reason to get angry, right? So that's something else that we can do. Like I mentioned earlier, me not joking with people or not breaking people's balls who I shouldn't be, who are going to get upset. But we can also work, right, on not getting upset at the comments that other people make, even if they're vindictive, even if they're mean-spirited. We don't have to respond to them. We don't have to get upset about what they do. Jim says he blew up at a clergyman trying to comfort him the day his brother died. He says that was inappropriate. Now, I happen to know this story, and I agree, Jim, blowing up was not the right way to handle it. And this gets down to the difference between assertiveness and anger, right? Because Jim was upset. So somebody trying to comfort him when he was upset, Jim's point of view is that he needed to be upset. He ought to be upset. He was losing a brother that he loved. So mourning and sadness is appropriate, and he doesn't need to be comforted. What he should have said to the clergyman, or the tack he should have taken, is to say, listen, I appreciate you're trying to help, but I need to mourn the way that I need to mourn, rather than blowing up, right? But that's a skill that we all need to learn, right? It's easy when we're calm. It's easy when things are going well. It's when things are going bad. It's when we're upset. That's when the problems come in. That's when we need to learn skills. That's when we need to act rationally and correctly. Deeper with Diego says, my wife and I haven't had a fight in 9 years. He says, understanding and integrating that A is A has turned his anger into acceptance and at worst disappointment. That's great. Stateless says, I tend to do a good job holding back my anger these days, mostly screaming matches with family members, making baseless assumptions about my life at worst. Yes, we don't want to be getting into screaming matches. Okay, we're running out of time. I have work to do, and I have a debate for which to prepare, and I would love it if you guys would tune into that tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time, my debate with Casimir about whether the United States activities towards Venezuela is in the interest of the United States citizens. I think it's obvious it's not. Obviously, he disagrees, but I cannot wait to see all of you tomorrow. I can't wait to do this again. Remember, check out the Capitalist Corner. Check out the Rational Egoist. You're going to like these shows. Check out Self-Made Soul on Mark Pellegrino's Patreon. I think you will like that as well. For now, I love you all. Until next time, be ethical. Thank you.